Okay, so dude wakes up with this heavy realization. You only get one life, even if it sucks, even if it is filled with regrets. But here's the twist. Guy gets a second shot, reincarnated. And this time, 0 regrets. That is the plan anyway. Cut to present day. Standing in front of 2 kids, boy is begging for help, girl right beside him, and our guy Gray just frozen, staring, brain completely fried. Crowd around him starts whispering, judging hard, calling him a monster for letting kids beg like that. Plot twist, Gray is a transmigrator. Fragments of his past life keep surfacing, memories bleeding through. Turns out this world, basically a game called Bright Fantasy. Problem is, Gray never actually played it. Bought it because a friend was into it. Never opened the thing. All he knows? Command-based RPG, swords and magic, multiple heroines. Protagonist, named Isuka. But here is where it gets messy. Gray is not the hero. Nope. Reincarnated as a side character with the most intimidating face imaginable. People think he is a bandit, or worse. Has 0 clue what his role even is in this game. So what does he do? Shrugs it off. Adventure, life, here we go. Being an adventurer? Supposed to be honorable. Guild quests. Ranks from E to A with levels in between. Whole system. Gray managed to claw his way up to B rank. No small feat. Needs 3 consecutive C rank completions. Already nailed that. Solid sword skills. Magic arsenal stacked. Attack spells? Check. Healing? Got it. Buffs? Debuffs? The works. Confident he can handle himself. At least not die too easily. But right now, focused on these 2 kids. Crowd getting louder. People speculating the kids might get sold. Someone yells for guards. Gray sweating bullets. Everyone judging him because of his face. Girl finally speaks up. They need help. Sick family member. Needs healing magic. Earlier, some guy kicked the boy. Called their flowers junk. That is when Gray stepped in. Kicked the dude in the face. Guy hits the ground hard. Gray agrees to buy a flower. Uses recovery magic on the kids right there. Asks if they have family. Kids shake their heads. On their own. One of them sick. Gray realizes his magic only heals wounds. True healing? That is priest territory. Church exclusive. Still reassures them. No big deal. Kids staring at him like he grew a second head. Cannot believe someone is helping. Dude just shrugs. Agrees to see their friend. Even though he has no idea if he can actually help. Wonders if healing potions will even work. Boy mentions they cannot pay. Gray brushes it off. Pay whenever. No pressure. Kids almost burst into tears. Gray does not fully get why they are so emotional. Boy explains nobody has been kind to them. Ever. Girl adds they are just trying to survive. Gray tells them to calm down already. Mind made up. Has to help. No matter what. They start walking. Boy realizes introductions never happened. Gray casually drops his name. Jokes about how obviously he is not an adventurer with this face. Boy says his name is Isuka. Girl is Fu. Gray nods. But brain is racing. That name. Isuka. Protagonist of this world. Oh no. Being reborn as a villain and getting tangled with main characters? Recipe for disaster. Normally would avoid them completely. But since he does not know the story, decides to follow his conscience, even if it leads to his death. Rather live without regrets. Here's where things get interesting. They reach this broken down house, outskirts of the slums, place is shattered, barely standing. Isuka goes inside to let everyone know. Fu stays outside, starts thanking Gray like crazy. He tells her to thank him after the treatment works, then warns her, do not trust everyone so easily. He could be a bad person too. She says she believes in him, makes him a little happy. Girl mistakes his grin for a frown. He assures her nope, just his default expression. Face permanently stuck like this. Isuka comes back. Thanks Gray for waiting. Gestures for him to come in. Inside, 3 more kids and a woman. Isuka points at the sick girl. Fu asks if he can heal her. Gray says he will try. Meets the older girl, Aral, taking care of 2 younger ones, Lutz and Nina. Sick one is Stella, just one look. Gray freezes, red eyes, pale skin, sharp fangs. Oh no, Stella is a vampire. Of all the things these kids could be hiding, a freaking vampire. And from the looks of it, half vampire, which makes everything 10 times worse. Discriminated by humans and purebloods. Double whammy. He tells them straight up, she is not sick, just malnourished. Air in the room feels heavy. Gray figures when vampires lack nutrients they crave blood, but oddly she has not attacked any kids. Concludes she is unaware of her own bloodlust. Easy fix, just needs proper nutrients. Stands up, asks what they usually eat. Isuka mentions church food, bread, only when they can sell flowers. Gray apologizes, tells him to forget, he asked. Brain working overtime. Church food once a week. Probably best meal these kids get. Reassures them everything is fine. Says he will provide food for a month. Kids cannot believe it. Isuka asks if he is sure. Fu says they cannot accept all this. Gray cuts in. Do you want help or not? Explains his magic will not cure Stella. But malnutrition? Just eating regularly. Balanced diet. Problem solved. They are incredibly grateful. Gray decides to head to the market. Walking there, he reflects. Abandoning these kids would definitely leave him with regrets. With this mischievous grin, he thinks they are unlucky. Trusted him. Now they will end up as sacrifices for his own satisfaction. Also notices something about their health. Does not sit right. Decides to add fruits and bread to their diet, for the day at least. Suddenly, a group appears. Bald man in black approaches. Asks if Gray is also keeping an eye on the kids in the cabin. Gray's temper? Flaring hard. Grabs the man's wrist. Slams his head into the ground. Already weary guys, now outright terrified of him. Growls that he does not know what they were planning. But it is not happening on his watch. Moments later, intruders sprawled out, injured. Gray warns one of them. If they so much as touch the kids, he will turn them into food. Slowly, starting with fingers and toes. Terrified boy stammers. Gray figures he made his point. Presses the leader's head into dirt. Demands to know how they found him. Boy stutters. Thought Gray was after the same thing. Gray scoffs. Do not judge a book by its cover. After another well-deserved punch, leaves. Starts thinking about how this world does not even have schools. Later, he is back in Bosto. City he calls home. Notes the huge Adventurers Guild building. Quests posted with matching rewards. Easy city for professional adventurers. Being en route to capital helps. Large population also means plenty of bandits, like the ones earlier. Consider themselves part of underground guild. Gray buys bread, thinking since he has no team he keeps all rewards, can comfortably afford the kids' meals. When he returns, announces it is time to cook. Kids surprised. Does not seem like the type who can cook. Isuka panics. Did not mean it that way. Aral offers to help light fire. Gray catches Lutz, eyeing an apple, ruffles his hair, tells him to wait. Aral notices, takes Nina and Lutz aside. Gray notes how surprisingly well-behaved the kids are for slum dwellers. Decides not to dig too deep, they can handle simple recipes. Nina tugs at his clothes. Gray looks down, tells her to stay still, wipe her nose. Then she calls him Dad. He freezes. Brain completely short-circuits. Wrong. Knows that. But part of him wonders if denying it would make her sad. Before he can figure out response, Aral calls Nina over, gently scolding her for bothering him. Gray still does not know what to say. Soon they are all at the table. Woman announces food is ready. Gray still processing how he ended up eating with them. Isuka compliments the food. Fu scolds him for talking with mouthful. Two younger kids, making a mess, and Gray cannot help but feel this strange sense of warmth amidst the chaos. Little did he know what this would turn into. Gray wipes the younger kids' faces, watches as Nina thanks Dada. Aral picks up Stella to feed her, reminds her to eat slowly. Gray notices they are starting to regain strength, mentions Stella's energy coming back. Ariel tells Gray to leave cleaning to her. He agrees. Issa thanks him for the food. Fu adds, it was really good. Gray brushes it off. Time will sort things out, mentions he is heading home. Nina does not want him to leave, hugs him, hands him a doll. Gray takes it, brain buffering. What is he supposed to do with this? Aral apologizes, tries to explain Gray has his own house. Nina insists though. Gray chuckles, says it is fine. Kids are like that. Since it is bedtime, decides to stay until they fall asleep. Mind drifts to his past life. Sister saying goodbye. Mom telling him to take care. Dad mentioning high school. Last words he remembers. See you later. Next morning, Gray carries a bunch of food, thinking it should be fresh enough. Figures he will stick to simple meals for a while. Upgrade to better quality meat later. Arrives. Sets food down. Everyone impressed. They start looking at recipes and menu ideas Gray brought. He tells them he will not be coming every day. Should eat well while they can. Aral asks if he would like to look around. Others still sleeping. Gray starts feeling like a dad about to leave on a business trip. Sees 3 kids sleeping. Aral asks if he slept well. Admits Nina's tantrum might have bothered him. No big deal though. Aral looks happy. Isuka hesitantly asks if they will see Gray again. He nods. Got a plan. Time to start making money. Cut to later. Old Orc running for his life. Muttering he cannot win. Knows it. Desperate. Says that man is not human. Humans are just cattle to him. But all his subordinates died to that human. Heads flying off easily. Keeps repeating the guy is not human. Then Gray appears. Evil grin activated. Orc panics. Why is Gray pointing sword at him? Gray yells, they just started playing tag. Orc is it? Casually mentions there is something he wants to buy. Needs to collect the orc's head. Scene shifts to Adventurers Guild. Gray scanning mission board. Extermination mission for Elder Orc catches his eye. Good fit. As he is pondering, overhears staff chatting. Guy, with dark sense of humor, supposedly committed every crime under the sun. Assault, blackmail, theft, you name it. Gray thinks if that were true, his license would be revoked ages ago. Just then, a guy approaches, teasing Gray about taking extermination mission. Gray recognizes him as Gannis, incredibly annoying. Gannis jokes about Gray's cold demeanor, brings up rumors of him threatening kids in slums. Gray brushes it off. Gannis only shows up because still salty about Gray rejecting his team invite. Gannis brags about reaching B rank faster. Gray fires back with snarky comment about remembering your roots. Gannis points out Goblin extermination mission. Gray gets nervous. Goblin's way too low rank for him. Banter escalates. Gannis getting increasingly worked up. His subordinates try to calm him down. Gray ignores the drama, heads over to Sasha the receptionist, registers for orc mission. Sasha sighs at childish behavior, helps him review details. Mission involves old orc near poor village. Payout lower than usual. Villagers cannot afford more. Suggests forming temporary team. Gray declines, knowing no one would want to team up anyway. Prepares to head out, thinking needs to finish quickly. Before leaving, Sasha thanks Gray, assures him no one at Guild believes rumors about him. Gray shrugs it off. Pondering orc parts can be sold for high price. Powerful aphrodisiac. Nobles always after that stuff. Sasha just shakes her head, wondering what goes on in Gray's mind. Scene cuts to village. Chief overjoyed, Gray accepted mission despite low reward. Introduces Marina, village girl. Suggests she accompany Gray for the night. Compensation. Marina, terrified but feeling obligated, nervously enters Gray's room. Gray notices her fear, reassures her she does not need to stay, explains while some adventurers might take advantage, he is not one of them, tells her to rest easy, promises to complete mission so village can return to normal. Marina, relieved, apologizes, wishes him good night, leaves. As she walks away, finds herself thinking Gray might actually be kind, returns to old man, immediately asks what happened. She explains Gray told her he did not need her, but reassured her he would still complete mission. Old man sighs in relief, just glad she is safe. Next morning, Marina brings Gray small snack, hoping he will like it. Knocks, apologizing for previous night. Gray opens door, brushes it off, thanks her, digs in. As he eats, compliments the food. Marina downplays it. Once finished, gets ready to leave. Villagers gather around, reminding him to be careful, only one they can rely on. Marina adds they are all counting on him. Final farewell. Gray sets off. Back in present, Orc running for life, sheer terror on face, mutters frantically about need to escape, fearing for life and dignity. Before he can get far, Gray hurls sword, slicing off one of Orc's arms. Orc lets out blood-curdling scream. Gray calmly tells him to say final prayers, mockingly calling him Old Orc, playfully debates which to take first, head or more delicate parts. Once fight is over, collects everything he needs. Makes use of high-class magic bag. These bags are rare. Had foresight to buy one back when still on team. Thanks to it, does not have to carry certain trophies in hands. Not that he enjoys having them in bag either, but it is what it is. And here is where things get wild. When Gray returns to village townspeople already gathered, waiting for news, Gray announces Orc is dead. Forest safe to use again. Old man thanks him for hard work. But when Gray presents Orc's head as proof, villagers recoil in horror. That was definitely more than they needed to see. Marina asks if he will stay the night, was planning to cook for him. Gray politely declines, says he needs to leave soon, apologizes. She looks disappointed but says she understands. Villagers thank him once again, wish him safe journey. Later, Gray rides in carriage, reflects on how smoothly everything is going. Long-term plan finally coming together, close to making dream home a reality. Been a while since he started living in Basto. While the inn is comfortable, time to settle down properly. Smirks to himself, noting Old Orc's family jewels will probably end up helping some noble families with their lineage. His quiet laughter unnerves other passengers, who inch away from him. Next day, Gray back at inn, carefully stitching up worn-out doll for Nina. Figures she will be happy to have it fixed, but fabric so old it will probably fall apart again soon. Deciding to try something more permanent, heads to shop, see if alchemy can restore it. Shopkeeper recognizes him immediately, comments on how Gray just got back but already preparing to leave again. Jokes it must be for a woman, maybe some post-mission romance. Before Gray can respond, man suddenly calls for someone named Lena, shouting her father is at it again. Voice from upstairs fires back, Lena, the innkeeper's daughter, starts scolding father for pestering guests. Old man tries to defend himself. Lena is not having it, calls him an idiot, much to his dismay. Insists men should stick together. Gray merely shrugs. Was about to leave anyway. Lena assures him she will handle father. Wishes him great day. Gray takes moment to appreciate the inn. Clean rooms, good food, generally polite staff. If place is not more successful, probably old man's fault. Later arrives at alchemy workshop. Lux immediately assumes he is here about doll. With smirk teases that ragged old toy does not really suit someone like Gray. Gray, however, more interested in getting it properly restored. Lux confirms alchemy can fix it, but there is a price. Before Gray can ask how much, Lux reveals he has clients specifically interested in old orc parts. When Gray casually presents Orc's head, Lux recoils in horror, exclaiming he was not supposed to bring that back. Gray, however, knows exactly what Lux really wants. Orc's crystal ball. With smirk admits to taking one of Orc's jewels, says he is willing to forgive Lux for reaction. After all, if things go well, Lux is typed to slip him free healing potion. Besides, as long as Kid is happy, Gray does not really care what he gains in return. When Gray returns, Nina rushes toward him, calling out desperately for Dad. Aral beside her quickly apologizes, explaining Nina cried a lot after he left. Gray kneels down, gently hugs her, reassuring her no need to cry. Gray's here. Look, Stella too. Stella, smiling, also calls him Dad, playfully reminds him to comfort Nina properly. Seeing her happy and full of energy makes Gray feel quiet sense of relief, glad she is doing well. Apologizing for making Nina wait, pulls out doll, hands it to her. Her eyes immediately light up. Excitement. Eagerly takes it, bouncing on feet as she admires how pretty it looks. Whole room brightens at her joy. Everyone relieved to see her happy. Aral, watching moment unfold, expresses deep gratitude, unsure how to properly thank him. Gray brushes it off as nothing. Instead, suggests heading inside to eat. Aral tells Nina she can go play with Fu. Gray chimes in. She can stay right where she is, no problem. Beaming, Nina settles onto Gray's lap as everyone sits down for meal. Gray quietly observes Isuka, asking Fu to eat his mushrooms. To Gray, Isuka just seems like regular kid, one who has no idea someday he is meant to become hero who saves world. That thought unsettles him. Knows he will have to lend strength to Isuka when time comes. But if he had any say, would rather let these kids live peaceful lives. Breaking out of thoughts, gathers everyone's attention. As chatter quiets, all eyes turn to him. Takes moment before sharing his plan, thinking of buying house in city. Asks if they would like to live there. For moment, silence fills room. Then Isuka speaks up, says they are all just really surprised. Fu hesitantly asks if Gray means everyone. Aral, still trying to process, asks again if he really means all of them. Gray simply nods. Nina immediately declares she wants to live with Dad, voice full of excitement. Aral, determined, says she will do her best too. Gray, taken aback, wonders how things escalated so quickly. This was not exactly how he planned things, but after spending past month with them, no way he can just walk away. At very least relieved, they are not upset with him. Aral, sensing his thoughts, assures him there is no reason they would be mad. Given them food, taken care of them, fixed Nina's doll, done more than they ever could have expected. Incredibly grateful. She turns to group, checking if everyone okay with it. Meanwhile, Gray sits in silence, trying to wrap head around what Stella is thinking. Excitement fills room. Even Stella, who usually keeps to herself, quietly smiling. After a moment, Nina looks up, asks where he is going, explains he is off to find new house for them, tells them to wait here. She nods, says she understands. Gray thanks everyone, group eager. Isuka constantly assures Gray they will all be waiting for his return. At Adventurers Guild, Gray starts envisioning ideal home, cooking dinner for everyone, proper bath, separate rooms for Isuka and others. Spacious living room sounds nice too. More he thinks about it, bigger his plans get. Maybe large house, even place big enough for party. Just as he is lost in thought, Ganna shows up again, immediately asking if Gray got old Orc's ear. Gray sighs. Not this guy again. Man insists it is impossible Gray defeated Orc just 2 days ago. No way. Demands Gray be honest about where he got items. Gray getting seriously fed up. Wonders if Guy is actually serious. Before he can respond, a man starts answering own question, speculating about where Gray must have bought those old Orc ears. That is it. Gray is done. Fires back sarcastically, suggesting if Guy too scared to hunt goblins, maybe try picking herbs instead. Gray knows how system works. Adventurers can still get rewards for defeating monsters even without official quest. Just need proof, like Orc's ear. But Guy keeps arguing, saying ear Gray brought is not valid, attached to skull. So, Gray casually tosses Orc's head at him, warning not to drop it. Went through trouble of bringing whole thing after all. Man stares in horror. Gray taunts him, calling him Cherry Boy. Guild receptionist quickly steps in, telling Gray to stop. Report mission completion properly. Gray casually plops Skull onto counter. Sasha immediately scolds him. Dumping severed monster head in middle of guild could be considered harassment. Gray shrugs, arguing it is just proof. She is not having it. Warns him if new receptionist had been here might have fainted just from sight. Gray reassures her. Pondering Sasha is one of few receptionists never scared of him. That is why even when guild crowded always waits for her. Though by look on her face does not seem thrilled about it. Sasha hands Gray reward, takes opportunity to ask her something. She raises eyebrow, rare for him to ask for help, tells him make it quick, reminds him providing guidance is part of guild's job. Will help however she can. Calls over another receptionist, Melinda. Take over while she steps away. She agrees, but moment she spots Orc's head lets out horrified scream, calling for Sasha. Gray, noticing commotion, checks in. Everything okay? Meanwhile, Sasha, ever the professional, remains unfazed. Jokes if people did not call her by name probably would relax all time. Shifts conversation. How unexpected. Gray suddenly asking about real estate. Gray and Sasha arrive at property. Sasha explains house fits all Gray's requirements. He takes a look around, immediately noting how massive it is. Sasha elaborates. Place previously used for Valkyrie gatherings. When their events got too big, relocated. Now house sits empty, waiting for next owner. Gray recalls Valkyries are elite high-ranking group, made up entirely of women, nearly reaching S-rank in Basto, invitations to noble and royal events, highly sought after. Chuckles at thought of young nobles practically tripping over themselves at sight of them. For a brief moment wonders if house being offered as part of some Valkyrie-related scheme. But location, size, number of rooms, too perfect to pass up. Can already picture kids' excitement when they see it. Sasha seems surprised how quickly he is making decision. Gray notes price shockingly low, nearly half of what similar properties go for. Sasha reveals Valkyries themselves arranged for half cost to be covered, but only if he is one buying it. Amazing deal. Gray knows he cannot turn it down. Just as he is about to relax, instincts kick in. Casually acknowledges presence of few individuals. One nearby, two on roof, two more hiding in shadows ahead. Focus shifts to hooded figure lurking behind him. If planning ambush, at least learn to hide bloodlust. Hooded man immediately asks if he is Gray. Everything clicks. These guys from Rapacious Spider. Same group, same tactics. No way they are getting away this time. Man boldly declares he is here to take Gray's life. Before it can even finish, Gray moves. In instant, gripping man by neck. Voice calm, yet threatening. If they are not part of Rapacious, Spider will deal with them quickly. But if they are, we'll make sure it is painful. No time for games. Better start talking. Within moments, subdues man with ease. Sighing as realizes whole situation is inconvenience. Still has dinner to make for kids. These interruptions getting annoying. Turning to another gang member simply states their time is up. Man now trapped stares in horror, demanding to know how Gray managed to restrain him so effortlessly. Gray just shrugs, explaining it is nothing special. Already taking care of ones on roof as well. Meanwhile, just outside kids' cabin 2, more gang members whisper among themselves. One suggests taking advantage of Gray's absence to attack. Other quickly shuts him down. If that man returns, they will not stand chance. Before it can continue discussion, voice breaks through silence. Gray emerges from shadows, completely unfazed, ignoring his warning, huh? Two men freeze in terror, earlier confidence vanishing instantly. Without wasting time, ties them up as well. Did not get much information from others, but if these two want painless end, better start talking. Otherwise should stop lurking where they do not belong. Later that night returns to cabin. Greeted by Aral, who looks relieved, Nina rushes forward, beaming as she welcomes him back. Gray shifts focus. We'll deal with gang members later, once kids asleep. Right now, priority is them. Nina tugs at sleeve, looking up expectantly, asking to be held. He hesitates before lifting her onto lap. She instantly settles in comfortably. Moment does not last long before other kids start gathering. Isuka eagerly offers to help with anything. Stella quickly claims her turn on lap. Gray laughs, promising he will hold her too. Then Lutz rushes over, clearly excited about his turn. Once everyone settled, finally shares big news. House officially theirs. In 2 days, when everything ready, they will move in. Everyone's super excited. After that, all go to sleep. Gray, just about to leave, putting on clothes when Stella suddenly asks if going to work, calling him dad. He quickly apologizes for waking her, reassures her, just stepping out for a bit. Stella, with curious look, asks if he will come back. Gray smiles, telling her of course he will be back soon. They will be living together from now on. Promises not to worry. Stella, still thinking, calls him again. Asks with slight tilt of head why he decided to become their father. Gray chuckles softly, says he has nothing to hide. Could tell her right then and there, but Stella shakes head. Rather hear it when everyone around. Gray agrees, knowing it is something that should be shared with all of them. As he heads out, feels like Stella seen right through him, but instead of feeling uncomfortable, actually comforting sensation. With sigh, starts thinking about how to track down rest of those guys. Mutters to himself, Dad is going to work hard. Looks forward to lads showing him way to hide out. Gray finds himself standing with two guys, one resigned to fate, having led Gray straight to hideout, other desperately begging for mercy. Second guy insists he has changed, swearing he will never attack kids again, just wants to live honest life. Gray, unimpressed, recognizes him as Casey. Reflects these guys were ones who started all this trouble, already warned them, did not listen, swiftly deals with them, deciding too much risk to let them walk free, no matter how much they claim to have changed. Safety of kids and past victims comes first, determined to wrap things up quickly. Knowing Nina would be lonely, Stella would be worried if he took too long. Meanwhile, one remaining thugs, blonde guy, looks at Gray, questioning who he even is. Gray definitely does not come across as typical law-abiding citizen, more like adventurer who takes things into own hands. Gray moves efficiently, finishing off enemies with precision, direct hit to head fastest and most reliable method, ensuring they do not come back as undead, avoids using magic. Figuring might be someone capable of sensing magical energy, remaining thugs panicking, wondering what's happening outside. When finally confront him, Gray casually mentions already took care of their friends, in middle of dealing with another one. Fight does not last long, wipes them all out. Notes, usual setup, big cave serving as hideout. Inside, realizing will take time to reach boss's room. Before can make much progress, someone suddenly shouts about intruder. Massive guy appears, boasting about being former B-rank adventurer. Gray barely reacts, already dismissing Guy as weaker than Gannis. Just as fight begins, assassin jumps in to attack, making Gray question what kind of training this organization even gives members. One particularly bald and terrified thug tries to flee. Gray quickly catches up, knocking him down with well-placed kick. Holding Guy's face up, notes how cold he looks. Running away was never going to work. Demands directions to boss's office. After a bit of hesitation, Guy finally gives in, points the way. Gray considers wrapping things up in style, maybe sending in that giant bird as parting gift. At last stands before boss. Man seems both surprised and impressed Gray actually made it this far. Just like reports warned, curious what Gray is to those kids exactly. Gray does not hesitate as he draws sword, making clear he is their father. Boss baffled, laughing at absurdity. Convinced, Gray completely lost it. But Gray short on time, no patience for conversation, ready to end it, tells boss to prepare to make amends in next life. Boss, realizing things not looking great, throws out cryptic remark about kids, hinting they are not normal. But before any answers come, scene shifts. Next morning, Gray practically buried under Nina and Stella, eagerly trying to wake him up for breakfast. Nina, clearly having fun, blurts something out, poking at him. Even Aral, watching nearby, tells them to stop pestering Gray. He is probably exhausted. Gray, half asleep, figures will get up soon. For now, just enjoying warmth. Back at innkeeper from earlier asking about rapacious spiders, says they are apparently large-scale group in city. Many members, fighters, constantly get into fights with city guards, causing lot of headaches. But now, all those guys wiped out. In just one night, all heads cut off. He asks if Gray believes it, heard even hidden members killed, including boss. Lena also heard it when she went out. Baldy adds no matter how much they tried, probably fail. Should be scared of doing something wrong, ending up as next target. Old innkeeper, blissfully unaware, just goes about business. Lena, on other hand, starts reminiscing about Gray, remembering how scary he looked when she was younger. Even now finds his face a bit intimidating. Gray, meanwhile, focused on more important things, getting everything ready for big move to new home. Plan is set, private rooms for everyone. Kids thrilled. Gray happily volunteers to help wash their hair. At clothing shop, attendant looks nervous around Gray, asks what kind of outfits they need. Gray, completely uninterested in fashion, leaves choices up to shopkeeper. Ariel teases maybe he should help pick, since Gray's fashion sense questionable at best. Meanwhile, Nina excitedly shows off new dress, twirling like little princess. Whole group in high spirits. When finally arrive at new house, even more impressive than expected. Huge, spotless, full of possibilities. Stella already dashing off to explore, dragging Nina along. Second floor filled with cozy individual rooms. Kids thrilled to claim own space. Aral holds back, letting everyone choose first, reminding himself they are family now. Place is theirs to grow into. Will take time for everyone to adjust, but excitement in air, undeniable. While kids busy settling, and Gray's mind drifts to practical matters, making sure they have enough food, keeping things organized, maybe even considering school. Great school and city. One of best for children, but also packed with noble kids. That part worries Gray. Does not want his kids facing discrimination, bullying just because of background. Wonders if now right time, or should wait little longer. More than anything, just wants them to grow up happy, have bright futures. As night falls, Gray finally heads to bed, only to find Stella, Lutz. Nina decided they are not quite ready to sleep alone. Crawl into his bed, snuggling up for night. Just as getting comfortable, there is knock at door. No surprise. Isuka, Fu, Aral, all sheepily claiming they do not want to sleep alone either. And so, on their very first night in grand new home, whole family ends up cozily piled into one room, laughing and chatting until they drift off to sleep. So, a month flies by, and breakfast at the house has become this lively, familiar routine. Gray looks around the table, realizing how much he has gotten to know these kids. He learned that Asuka is absolutely not a morning person, while Theo is incredibly sensitive. Nina completely demolishes food, like it is going extinct. Total opposite of Stella, who is the pickiest eater, especially when it comes to vegetables. But sweets? Zero hesitation. Those two are definitely the hardest to handle. Then there is Aral, who is always experimenting in the kitchen, eager to learn new recipes. The biggest surprise? Aral can actually read and write, which is pretty rare for kids in this kingdom, especially non-nobles. After breakfast, Gray gets ready to leave for work, and the kids wave him off. In the backyard, he spots Lutz, who as usual is quiet, and more interested in the animals around him. Gray notes that Lutz is by far the calmest of the group, always drawn to creatures big and small. As he heads out, Gray reflects that, while he has learned a lot about the kids, there is still plenty more to figure out. Near the city, he takes on a simple goblin hunting quest, because normally he would go for bigger, high-reward missions that take days to complete. But things are different now with the kids at home. He does not want to be away for too long, so short daily quests are the better choice. Once he is done, he stops by the Adventurers Guild to pick up his reward from Sasha. She immediately comments that he has changed. Gray does not get what she means, but Sasha points out that he has been avoiding longer missions lately. More than that, he is completely ignoring Gas's usual attempts to provoke him. Gray had not even noticed, but apparently Gas has been trying every single day, including right now. He is literally behind Gray trying anything and everything to get a reaction. But Gray simply grabs his reward and walks out, leaving Gas as frustrated as ever. On his way home, he stops by a small market and picks up some sweets for the kids. As he continues walking, his thoughts drift to his past life. He remembers how empty his home used to feel. No one waiting for him. No warmth to return to. Those days of loneliness are long gone now, along with his old life. Before he even realizes it, he is home with Lutz and Nina in the backyard playing. They are the first to spot him. Aral appears in the doorway announcing that dinner is ready. Gray hands her the bag of sweets, saying it is for everyone to share after the meal. Aral thanks him, but gently reminds him not to bring sweets every day, otherwise he is going to spoil them all. She even points out that Stella has already been skipping dinner just to eat the treats. Gray chuckles and admits she has got a point. Maybe he should cut back a little. Dinner is lively as usual, but Asuka and Theo keep sneaking glances at each other like they have something big to say. Finally, Asuka speaks up. They both want to become adventurers like Gray. Theo even asks if he could teach them swordsmanship and magic. Before Gray can respond, Aral shoots up from her seat, clearly not thrilled about this. Gray stays calm and says he does not mind, though now is not the best time for the discussion. He reminds them that being an adventurer is tough and full of unpredictable dangers. In his head, though, he already knows Asuka has the potential to be great, just like in Bright Fantasy. If Asuka is going to follow that path, he will need skills and experience. Gray is more than willing to guide him so he can avoid unnecessary risks. After dinner, Gray tucks Stella and Lutz into bed, telling them a story until they drift off. Finally, he settles in for the night. Just as he is about to fall asleep, he hears Stella mumbling in her sleep. He listens closely, and something about this feels important. The next morning breakfast is another cheerful affair except for one thing. Stella is staring hard at Gray, like she is trying to read his soul. But Gray decides to just ignore it and enjoy the meal with everyone. Before he heads out to the Adventurers Guild, Aral hands him a lunchbox. She says she noticed he has been skipping meals with all the extra work he has been doing. Gray, touched by the gesture, thanks her and takes it. Just as he is about to leave, Aral brings up her worries about Asuka and Fio becoming adventurers. Gray reassures her that it is ultimately their choice, but he wants to support their dreams. If she is that concerned, he suggests she talk to them directly. She agrees, saying she will have that conversation. Finally, he heads off to the Adventurers Guild. When Gray arrives at the Adventurers Guild, the place is packed. He spots Sasha rushing back and forth, clearly swamped with work. Curious, he stops her to ask what is going on. She quickly explains that today is a big deal. The Valkyries are finally returning from their expedition to the garden, a dungeon that had never been fully cleared before. Apparently, there has been a flyer about it hanging at the guild entrance for days. Gray glances at it, realizing it is the same one he has been ignoring all this time, just shrugs. Sasha, too busy to deal with him today, tells him to find another receptionist for his mission request. She also throws in a warning not to bring any monster heads this time. The last time he did that, poor Melinda cried for hours. Gray moves on to the quest board, scanning through the options. It has been a while since he entered a dungeon, and honestly, doing one would be a nightmare. Dungeons are not just dangerous because of the sheer number of monsters inside, also because of the unpredictable creatures lurking within. Even outside dungeons, monsters can have weird abilities like magic-resistant goblins or ones that are way too smart for their kind. While novice hunters can take down the usual dumb goblins, intelligent ones are a different story. After some thought, Gray picks a goblin hunting quest. Easy, good pay, quick to finish. He heads out, efficiently clearing the area around the city and wrapping up faster than expected. Taking a break, he finally digs into the lunchbox Aral packed for him. It is amazing. As he eats, he cannot help but think about how Aral is not just a great cook, but also a beautiful girl who will probably grow into a stunning woman. He jokes to himself that he might need to start training now, so that if she ever brings home a fiancé, he does not accidentally slice his head off. Once he has gathered proof of his goblin hunt, Gray returns to the guild. Melinda, already on edge, spots him in her line and looks like she is bracing for the worst. But to her relief, this time he has only brought goblin ears, not full monster heads. As she processes his quest, Gray casually asks if the Valkyries have returned yet. She confirms they have and are upstairs in a meeting with Sasha and the guildmaster. Surprised that he is actually asking about people in the guild, she teases him. Says it makes sense since the Valkyries are famous for being some of the most beautiful adventurers around. Melinda wonders if he is planning to wait around or go see them, but Gray decides against it. He actually wanted to talk to them and thank them for the house, but since they seem busy, he figures it is better to leave it for another day. When Gray gets home, he thanks Aral for the lunchbox. She is thrilled to hear he liked it, promises to make him one every day from now on. After Gray takes a shower and has dinner with the kids, he decides to play some games with them. They're having a great time playing cards and laughing, when suddenly, someone starts knocking on the door. The knocking is so persistent, it starts to get on Gray's nerves, ruining the peaceful evening. He's not happy, but heads over to see who is at the door, opens it, and is surprised to find two members of the Valkyries standing there. Amelia, the Valkyries' leader, is on the right, and Kasha, her teammate, is on the left. Amelia starts off by demanding to know why Gray did not come talk to them earlier. She is furious because Melinda, the guild's resident snitch, told her that Gray had been at the guild but did not stop by to say hello. Amelia is clearly annoyed, and Gray, sensing trouble, silently thanks Melinda for being such a tattletale. While Amelia is busy giving Gray a hard time, Kasha, with a big smile, asks if Gray is not going to invite them in, since they are attracting a lot of attention out there. Before Gray can answer, Aral steps up behind him, asking who these women are, if they are friends of Gray's, and if they would like some tea. The two women are caught off guard by Aral's sudden appearance. Aral looks a bit confused by their reaction. Gray, without missing a beat, tells them to come on in. Once everyone is inside, Asuka asks who the women are. Gray casually explains that they are his old teammates. Fio and Asuka are in awe, clearly impressed and curious about how skilled they must be to have been part of Gray's group. After Aral serves them tea, the conversation kicks off. Meanwhile, Stella and Nina sneak onto Gray's lap, clinging to him for no apparent reason. Gray is a bit confused, not understanding why they are acting so clingy, but Aral explains that the girls are jealous and do not want these women to take him away. Aral tries to pull them off, but the girls will not let go, insisting they do not want Gray to get taken away by these strangers. Amelia finally asks Gray who the kids are. He casually replies, "My kids." She looks surprised for a moment before irritation crosses her face, making Nina a little nervous. Kasha quickly scolds Amelia for scaring the kids, then turns to Aral and asks her age. She reveals that she is 13. Kasha smirks, saying, "That explains everything. There's no way the kids are Gray's biological daughters. After all, 13 years ago, Gray was dating Amelia." That remark makes Amelia turn bright red, completely flustered. Kasha also notices little Stella is a half-blood. When Stella catches the two women staring, she shrinks back in fear. Gray reassures her, telling her there is nothing to worry about. These two will not hurt her. After all, half-bloods, especially kids, are rare in this world, often sold as slaves or treated horribly. Gray just wants to make sure she feels safe. Gray sits everyone down and decides to explain everything from the beginning. He tells the whole story, starting from when he met Asuka all the way to the present. Once he is done, Amelia and Kasha just nod, saying this is exactly the kind of thing Gray would do. They chat for a while, not just about the kids, but also about the house. Gray had already thanked the Valkyries for helping him get it at a lower price, so there is not much left to say. Eventually, he notices it has gotten pretty late, and the kids are starting to get sleepy. He decides to put them to bed, while Amelia and Kasha say it is time for them to head home too. Gray offers to walk them back, but they wave him off, reminding him that they are rank A adventurers who do not need an escort. He says goodbye, telling them to drop by any time. Just as they're about to leave, Aral pops up to see them off as well. She tells Amelia that even if Gray is not home, they're welcome to visit whenever they like, since any friend of Gray's is always welcome. The word friend hits Amelia like a dagger to the heart. She definitely sees herself as more than just a friend. With her pride a little bruised, she and Kasha head off, promising to visit again. The next morning, Gray says goodbye to the kids and gets ready to head to the Adventurers Guild. On his way out, he spots Asuka and Fio practicing basic sword techniques. He reminds them not to overdo it. Pushing too hard could get them hurt. They nod, but also ask if he can start teaching them magic next time. Gray tells them that before they even think about learning magic, they need to learn how to read and write, something they unfortunately do not know yet. After saying his goodbyes, he heads off, thinking to himself that the life he has now is worth more than any rare treasure. He feels like he could take on anything to protect this new life of his. Maybe this is what it means to be a father. At the guild, he bumps into the Valkyries again. Amelia mentions she is about to head out. Gray assumes it is for another expedition, but she clarifies that she is actually on her way to report to the city lord about their dungeon raid in the garden. She asks if he wants to know what the dungeon was like. When he says yes, she tries to turn it into an excuse for a little one-on-one time. Before she can finish, though, Kasha grabs her and drags her away, saying they are in a hurry and Amelia can flirt some other time. Once they are gone, Gray chats with Melinda, grabs a new quest, and sets off. As he works on his mission, he reminisces about his old adventuring group, Blade. The team included Amelia, a swordswoman, Kasha, a healer, and Gray himself, a magic knight. Their leader was a lancer, and there were two other members whose names he does not mention. They started as an average group, but through experience and hard work, they climbed the ranks pretty fast. Gray does not dwell on it for too long, though. He finishes his mission and heads back to the guild to collect his reward. On his way out, he runs into Amelia and Kasha again. They chat for a bit, and Gray asks how the meeting with the city lord went. Amelia sighs, saying they talked about a lot of things. But the big news of the day was not even the dungeon. It was about a new hero chosen by the Oracle from another country. Gray is caught off guard by this, and Amelia does not look too thrilled either. She explains that the lord and some nobles wanted the Valkyries to join the heroes' party, mainly because they are a high-ranking group on the verge of reaching rank S. Since they are an all-female team, it was clear that the nobles had other motives. They wanted one of the Valkyries to become the hero's bride. Gray asks if she accepted. Amelia practically yells that she refused. She felt like she and her team were being treated as objects, not adventurers. Kasha quickly scolds her for shouting inside the guild. Amelia, realizing everyone is staring, apologizes before storming off. Later that day, Gray arrives home and is immediately swarmed by the kids. Aral tells him that Lutz, Nina, and Stella have something important to show him. The kids proudly line up, holding out papers with drawings they made of him. Prepare yourself for cuteness overload. Gray takes one look at their work and collapses on the spot. The kids panic, thinking he does not like their drawings, but he quickly pulls them into a hug, telling them he is beyond happy. He is so happy, in fact, that he vows to buy special magical frames resistant to fire, water, and impacts, just so he can keep their drawings safe forever. At that moment, Gray makes a new promise to himself to become the best father ever. The day starts with Gray waking up to the kids sleeping around him. He gets up and thinks he needs to buy picture frames today. As he leaves his room, he runs into Aral, who is about to prepare breakfast. But Gray says today he is the one who will make breakfast. While Gray cooks, Aral sets the table. Then Theo bursts into the kitchen, apologizing for being late. Aral, with messy hair and clothes, is surprised to see Gray cooking breakfast. A little embarrassed by her disheveled appearance, Gray says she arrived at the perfect time and asks her to wake everyone up. Theo goes to wake Asuka, and her shouts echo through the house. While Theo tries to wake Asuka, the three little ones wake up on their own and sleepily walk to the kitchen. Gray leaves Aral to finish preparing breakfast while he heads to the battlefield with towels in hand to help the kids wash their faces. It seems like an easy task, but it is not that simple. While he tries to wash Nina's face, who acts like a scared kitten around water, Stella plays with the water more than actually washing her face. And Lutz? Oh my god, someone help this boy! After this fierce battle, Gray returns with the kids completely soaked. As he dries himself off, he tells Aral not to prepare his lunchbox because he is not taking a mission at the guild today. The kids get excited, asking if Gray is not going to work. Gray says he is staying home today. And more than that, they're all going out together. Stella asks if she can come too. Gray says yes. After all, this is a family outing. Stella is overjoyed by Gray's words. Meanwhile, Gray knows why she asked that question. She must be worried that people will stare at them because of her. But he says if he finds anyone like that, he will cut them. Or rather, he will solve the problem peacefully. Gray also mentions that the other day while talking to Aral, one of his friends, he was stopped by a guard who thought he was a suspicious man approaching an elf. And today, during their outing, he was approached again. This time, the guards accused him of being a child kidnapper. Gray thinks to himself that the prejudice against his face is worse than the prejudice against a half-blood vampire like Stella. The guards start interrogating Gray in the middle of the street, saying these kids cannot be his because they do not look anything like him. But when one of the guards mentions Stella, the child with purple hair and red eyes, they insist they're just doing their job and decide to take Gray to the station to sort things out. Aral then shouts at the guards, saying they are a family. And if the guards only see the kids now when they are clean and well-dressed. The guards seem confused, but Nina and Lutz cling to Gray's legs, begging them not to hurt their dad. Gray feels uncomfortable because from the guard's perspective, it looks like he is using the kids as a shield to torment them. Well, either way, it works, and the guards leave. Aral grabs Gray's arm and leads everyone away from the scene as far as possible. As they walk away, Aral, with a serious expression, says the guards never helped them when they were wearing rags and surviving on scraps. After a few seconds, Aral snaps out of it and starts apologizing, her face red with embarrassment. Gray just thanks her, saying today the protector was the one being protected. After all that, Gray heads to the inn where he used to live before buying his house. There he meets his friend, the innkeeper, and his daughter, Lena. Both are shocked that Gray suddenly has kids. Gray, with the kids in his arms, says there is nothing strange about it. His friend says he just finds it curious that Gray suddenly did something so different from what his appearance suggests. So, the innkeeper and Lena decide to prepare a big lunch to celebrate with Gray. Everyone enjoys a delicious lunch together, while the kids seem to have fun getting to know Lena. Gray tells his friend that his cooking has improved a lot. In response, his friend says the food just tastes better when you're with family. A few days after that outing, Gray is at home talking to Aral. She says she is going out with Lena today to do some shopping. Gray is happy that he introduced Lena to Aral, since they have become good friends. Aral seems much happier lately because of this. A few hours later, that same day, while Gray is walking around the city, he runs into Lena's father. They start having a friendly conversation, and as they head toward the end, they run into Aral and Lena, who are being asked out by two guys. The girls refuse, but the guys keep insisting. That is when the killing machines show up. The two protective dads appear behind the guys with big smiles on their faces, radiating happiness. They call the guys over for a little chat. In the end, they just give the boys a small scolding while the two guys tremble in fear, thinking Gray and his friend are dangerous criminals. After the boys run away in fear, Aral, who was waiting for Gray nearby, apologizes for bothering him with this. Gray notes that Aral holds herself back too much, that she should have fun more often instead of always being so reserved. He says he is happy she has made a new friend, obviously referring to Lena. Gray says she is just a girl, and he does not mind spoiling her a little. He would like to spoil her, just like he spoils Nina and the others. At that moment, Nina and the kids arrive. She asks if being spoiled is a bad thing. Gray says spoiling her makes him happy, that he will spoil her a lot, just like he will spoil Stella and Lutz, who come running over creating attention. Gray picks them both up and says they will always get his attention, just like Asuka and Fio, who are standing nearby and are usually quiet because they are shy. Gray turns to Aral and expresses that he will always spoil her too, since she is always holding herself back and staying reserved. With that, Gray gives everyone a big hug, even making the innkeeper shed a manly tear at the wholesome scene. The next day, Gray is training Asuka in swordsmanship. He instructs Asuka not to close his eyes while attacking, among other issues he has. He decides that he will also teach him magic, but only when he learns to read and write correctly and without mistakes. That is the basics for learning magic. Gray also says it is not worth teaching someone who does not dedicate themselves to their studies. While Gray is teaching, Asuka Aral watches the entire training session through the window. Gray remembers he only started giving lessons to Asuka and Fio because Aral, who was against it at first, asked him to teach them. Gray sees Aral as a child with a very mature sense of protection, especially for her age. After leaving Asuka completely exhausted, Gray tells him to rest. Now it is Fio's turn to train. Now we shift the narrative to another place, specifically the Holy Church in Storia, where a middle-aged man is talking to a supposed young knight. The man dressed like a priest or bishop speaks to the boy with a smile on his face. He says, "The carriage will arrive soon to pick him up." The boy, with a somewhat depressed expression, just accepts what the man says. After walking away, the man no longer has a smile but an arrogant look. He says, taking care of a disheartened boy like this is discouraging, but now he needs to go after the saint. The knight beside him confirms that the saint is in the neighboring country. The man scolds him, telling him not to say the saint belongs to another country, but to their own, where the Holy Church is located. He warns the knight not to repeat that as someone might hear them. As the man walks toward the carriage, he thinks to himself, the saint is from a wealthy merchant class, and like the saint he captured, she is also an orphan. Thanks to that, they can now have the saint with the church without any issues. With that said, the man says it is time for them to go and give their greeting to the saintess. Ariamo. The knight agrees. He thinks it will not be a greeting but simply a kidnapping. After all, the saint is only a child. He does not expect any resistance. Everyone boards the carriage and sets off. Meanwhile, back with Gray, despite Aral's objections, he teaches both Asuka and Fio swordsmanship. In the neighboring Holy Kingdom of Storia, Aral was recognized as a saint. Gray sits reading a book about a hero and a saint. Asuka overhears him thinking aloud and asks if he said anything. Gray replies no. He asks Asuka what he thinks of the hero and the saint. Asuka replies, nothing specific. Gray asks Fio the same question. Fio replies that they should be the ones to save the future of this world. She says, it sounds global, more like a fairy tale. Gray thinks the main character and heroine like Fio and Asuka must have a special lineage, but judging by the children's reactions, they are not interested at all. There is a chance they know nothing about it though. He decides to find out about it later. Fio whispers to Asuka that Gray is deep in thought. Perhaps something has happened. Asuka replies that he knows nothing. Yesterday, on the way to hand in the quest, Amelia asked Gray to stop by the Valkyries' place for a minute. Gray did not understand what was going on. She asked him to simply follow her quietly. Someone greeted him at the Valkyries' house. Kasha apologized for the suddenness and asked if he could listen. Gray asked if this was something they could not discuss in the guild. Kasha replied that there were too many people there. She asked him to sit down and offered tea. Gray said he could talk without tea and asked her to tell everything. Kulsaria asked if he had heard about the hero's story from the leader. Gray replied, something about an oracle. Kulsaria continued. She said that this hero had come here from the Holy Kingdom of Storia. For some reason, a path for the journey had been paved through the forest. The forest fairies had reported this to her. Gray said he heard that the elves, the forest dwellers, could understand fairies. He asked how the fairies knew the hero was coming. Kulsaria replied that the hero was a special existence for the fairies. They knew about him the moment he entered. Gray asked if the hero was coming alone. Kulsaria replied that the hero was not alone, but she did not know how many people were in his company. Gray asked why he had been told this information. Kasha reminded him that they had declined the hero's offer to join his party. They did not know what was going on, so they wanted to be prepared. She said they could not trust the city lord. Amelia said they thought Gray could help them if necessary. Kasha added that Amelia had insisted on his candidacy. Gray replied that he was not refusing, but he thought of them as comrades. Gray thought the fact that the procession was avoiding roads was very suspicious. There is a chance they want to do something to Asuka and the other children. He needs to abandon the missions and stay home with the children. He asked Amelia, Kasha, and Kulsaria if anything bad happened to him to take care of the children. The girls replied that they promised. Gray wondered if the hero would die if his head was cut off. Present time at Gray's home. He says that Aral is running late. Fio suggests that the children might have trouble sleeping. Gray replies that he will go check. In the room, he sees all four sleeping soundly. He carefully covers them all with a blanket. Asuka follows him upstairs and asks where his sister is. Gray replies that she has fallen asleep with the others and should not be woken. They go downstairs and continue their activities. Gray looks at Fio and Asuka and thinks how diligent they have been lately. If the hero's goal is to contact the children or the girls, he knows that in any case, he can only do one thing: protect the children at all costs. Someone knocks on the door. Fio asks if there's a guest. Gray says he will open it so the children will not be distracted from their studies. Fio agrees. When Gray approaches the door, he readies his weapon for an attack. He asks who it is. A voice behind the door says there is news. When Gray opens the door, Amelia is standing there. He asks her if she is alone. Amelia answers, "Is that a problem?" He replies that it is fine and invites her in. Amelia says she would be happy to come, but Kasha asked her to return quickly. She says the hero has already left the forest. If they head straight to the city, they will arrive in less than half a day. She takes something from her pouch and hands it to Gray as a backup. These are magical communication items. These items cannot transmit messages, but if one concentrates, the other stone will glow. She gives Gray a stone to use if necessary, promises to come to their aid immediately. Gray thinks they did not have such items before when they were on the same team. These items are usually used when exploring dungeons. With this item, one can find the general location of an ally. These items are not very expensive, so many adventurers use them as good luck charms. Gray thanks Amelia and tells her to use her item too, if anything happens. Amelia replies that she is counting on him. She says goodbye and leaves. Gray thinks about how he has been alone for so long that he did not know about this item. He should buy one for Asuka and the other children. The children ask who came. Gray replies that it was Amelia. They talked, and she left. Fio asks Gray about being on the same team with Amelia. Was she the girl who recently visited? Gray replies that it was that swordswoman, the blonde one. Fio opens her mouth and says that she is a very beautiful girl. Gray pours tea for everyone and offers them a cup. Fio thanks him. She asks Gray about Amelia being his girlfriend. He almost chokes on his tea in surprise. Fio says she should not have asked. Gray replies that everything is fine. He asks why she thought that. Fio explains that the last time Amelia came, she looked at Gray with a distinctive look. Gray wipes his face and says that they dated when they were on the same team, but they broke up a long time ago. She is his ex-girlfriend. Fio asks why they broke up. Asuka pulls Fio back and says that such a question should not be asked, but Gray replies that there is no specific reason. They simply broke up, something that often happens. Fio tries to continue the conversation again, but Gray abruptly says that he will not say anything more. He thinks he can understand some admirer of Amelia, but who would be interested in such a character? The door opens, and a sleepy Aral runs in. She shouts that she will make dinner now. Asuka tells her that they have already eaten. Aral calms down. She just had a long dream about something. She sits down and becomes embarrassed because of the mess on her head. Now she will go and wash her face. Gray says she has amazing hair. Fio says he should not say that. It would make her feel embarrassed. Gray thinks, would it not be better if the girl knew about this? Twilight. Gray comes to the kitchen and offers Aral help with dinner. She says that she can handle it alone today. Gray thinks that maybe it is adolescence. Children are playing in the yard. Gray waves to them. When he turns around, he sees the innkeeper holding a saucepan in his hands. Gray asks why he came. Did Lena finally kick him out? Lena's father tells him to shut up because he brought them soup. He hands over a pot of soup and says he has never seen the house before, but it is a very nice house. The innkeeper leans over and tells Gray that some people have been asking about Aral at the inn and guild tavern. They were dressed like mercenaries or adventurers, but they behaved very decently. He asks Gray to be careful. Gray thanks him for the information. The innkeeper says there is no need for thanks because Lena and Aral are friends, practically family. Helping is a natural thing. Gray thinks he is being shy. Aral asks what kind of pot Gray is holding. Nina says Lena's dad came by and brought some soup. Gray says he shared his soup with them. Aral is overjoyed. Gray says they can bring something next time too. Aral agrees. She tells everyone to wash their hands and go get some soup. Someone knocks on the door again. Gray Gray stops Aral and says he will open it himself. He asks her not to show her face at the door. Aral pauses. Gray says he will go out, but might return late, so he asks her to put the little ones to bed without him. Aral understands everything. Gray, from behind the closed door, asks who has come at such a late hour. From behind the door, they apologize for the late-night visit. The guests explain that they are members of a mercenary order called the Nighthawk. They say they have come on behalf of the aristocrats and are looking for a girl named Ariamel. Does anyone in this house know someone like that? It is obvious why the aristocrats would use mercenaries to find people. After all, there is not a war going on right now. If they were going to use someone, it would be better to hire a high-ranking adventurer who is not constrained by law or private troops. An adventurer's ID is simply an adventurer's card issued by a guild. It can be used in different countries, and contracts are signed with it in accordance with each country's laws and adventurer law. Failure to comply with the laws can result in a fine or even disqualification. When it comes to high-ranking adventurers, there is a rule that more attention should be paid to working with the aristocracy and maintaining connections with the royal family. Someone asks to open the door. Gray knows that mercenaries have no such restrictions and work only on the trust of individuals. They have strong ties to the client's noble family. Perhaps they know he is an adventurer. Otherwise, if he pretends to be one and does not say anything unnecessary, they will not expose him. The only thing he is sure of is that they cannot be trusted. Gray says he will open the door. Two young guys in armor stand on the threshold of the house. One thanks him for opening the door. The other says they want to talk about a girl named Aral. Gray immediately asks what the name of the person who hired them is. One of the guys replies that they promised not to reveal their name to strangers. Gray replies that he will not tell them anything then and asks them to leave. He knows that keeping the client's name secret and searching for people is prohibited. Do these guys think that if they say they are sent by an aristocrat, everyone will immediately tell everything? Unfortunately, he's not going to answer even if the client is the imperial family. The guys get angry. Gray looks at them sternly. The guy asks, "Does that mean he will not tell them anything?" Gray answers, "Exactly." He says he knows they are mercenaries and they are very unaccustomed to being refused. Another guy asks what he means by that. Gray answers nothing. He says that if the young man has any more questions, they should choose another day since his children have gone to bed and it is time for the guests to leave. Gray says he does not want to stay in the house where the children live with blood. The guys whisper, and one of them tries to peer over his shoulder. Gray glares at them again. They say that is all for today, but they will visit him again tomorrow. Gray thinks that the mercenaries' friends are probably standing at the back door of the house, but the house originally belonged to a female group, so both the front and back doors are very strong. And the windows in the house are protected with magic. Breaking into the house is simply impossible. The mercenaries are most likely waiting for a moment of calm to strike. If their target is Aral, then perhaps they will leave her alive and silence the others. But Gray prefers to attack unexpectedly, so this time he will let them get away. Amelia runs around the corner, dragging one of the mercenaries. From the perspective of the Nighthawk mercenaries, one guy says that the information about the man is confirmed. Apparently, he really is keeping a girl at home. The second mercenary agrees with him. This guy looks like a real bore. At first glance, he seems like a seasoned adventurer, but in reality, he is a low-level hooligan. One mercenary says the guy told him the children had gone to bed, but they are unlikely to be his own children. The second mercenary assumes the children are slaves or orphans, since the girl is also an orphan. He cannot understand why the guy is holding the girl captive. The first mercenary thinks they have a noble goal. The second mercenary thinks it is something disgusting, something that should not be spoken about out loud. He says that, in any case, if they report this to the bishop, that will be the end of the mission for today. He tells the first mercenary that when Sill's men join them, they can come back again. Gray follows them and hears the name of the client. He wonders out loud if that is the man's name. The mercenaries turn and ask who it is. Gray stands behind them, his expression crazed. He says they were planning to leave behind trash. One of the mercenaries shouts at Gray, asking what he has done to their comrade. Gray is dragging one of the mercenaries unconscious. He tells the mercenary to speak more quietly. He can hear him perfectly well. Gray says that the mercenary's condition makes it immediately obvious he is a poor warrior. He throws the mercenary to his comrades and says he is still alive. He handed him over so the mercenaries can answer his questions. Gray asks why the mercenaries are looking for Aral. When they find her, what are they going to do with her? Where is the bishop? One of the mercenaries thinks that, since he found out about the bishop, they cannot leave him alive. Gray raises his sword and loudly asks why they are not answering. He does not wait for an answer and strikes his opponent. He severs the arm of one of the mercenaries. The second mercenary thinks Gray is too fast. While he is thinking, Gray strikes and severs his head. Kulsaria runs around the corner and asks Gray if he is finished. Gray asks her about having seen everything from beginning to end. Kulsaria replies, yes, indeed. He dealt with them rather mercilessly. Gray replies that the mercenaries needed no mercy. All those who encroach on the peace of his children are his enemies. If someone is going to take something from another person, then they must be prepared to have something taken from them too. He will take it anyway, no matter the cost. Kulsaria is surprised that Gray values his children so much. Gray asks her to be silent. He says valuing his children is a natural state for parents. Kulsaria says he needs to find a bride quickly. She asks, what about Amelia? Gray replies that he does not know what Amelia would do to him if she heard that. Kulsaria smiles and says that Amelia would blush and become embarrassed. She asks if he understands the warrior's position. She points and says that if they leave the city, it would be right there. She is sure there is no mistake, because everything looks just as she heard from the spirit. They can make a reasonable amount of noise outside. She clarifies that there are 5 people, including the warriors. One of them is dressed in luxurious robes, another in a bright white plate suit, and 2 in suits like mercenaries. Gray replies that he understands and thanks her for the information. Kulsaria is a very good archer, but she is also a first-class scout. This is not the same as what Gray does. It is something else. Kulsaria asks about them coming. She says she will cover for him. If she returns home now, Amelia, who is watching over his house, will be angry. Gray replies that he understands and trusts her completely. He has tasked Amelia with guarding the children at his house. Amelia wanted to follow him, but he entrusted the children to her. She is as strong as he is, maybe even stronger. Aral was not herself that evening, but he hopes they can become friends. The outskirts of the city of Bastok. The bishop says the mercenaries have been walking for a long time. He asks if they dislike his assignments. The mercenary guard replies that there has been no new information since lunch. He says the information is that Saint Ariamel has been taken in by a local adventurer and that they are living together. The bishop says, adventurers are a worthless bunch who live for the moment. If he is given the required sum of money, he will gladly hand over the girl. The mercenary says that if the adventurer learns the girl is a saint, he might take advantage of this and make excessive demands. The bishop replies that if that happens, there are many ways to deal with it. He says they simply need to check if the saint is in the adventurer's house. That is all. After all, he gave the task to 3 mercenaries, but they are still out there somewhere. He thinks he needs to quickly retrieve the saint and return to Storia. Then his future will be bright, and his dream of becoming a parishioner will come true. If negotiations fail, it would be better to simply sneak into the adventurer's house late at night and kidnap the saint. But he absolutely has to silence the adventurer. The hero sits on a stump and thinks, will Aral also be separated from her loved ones? The knight says there is nothing worse than tedious waiting, so he should be sent. The knight's name is Londi, a 7th-ranked holy knight. He approaches the bishop and says he is the strongest here, so why not finish this quickly? They're really nervous about not being able to take some girl. If you liked the video, please drop a like and subscribe to stay tuned for the next part.